All right, Upanishads. Um, find my notes. Good. So today we're going to learn about Brahman and next time about Atman, right? Brahman, remember, is the divine all around us, which we're going to talk about in depth today. And Atman is the divine within, right? And for the Hindus, right, both the Atman is a part of the Brahman, right? And so that's the idea. So today, so we don't know yet too much about either of them because this is new. We're not used to this kind of philosophy, right? If we come from a three monotheistic background, right? Islam, most of us are either Muslim, Christian, or Jewish in this school, or sorry, there's also Buddhist and Hindu. But in general, right, in the US, right, typically it's those three monotheisms. So we're used to thinking of God as a person, right, to whom we pray or offer sacrifices, right, or and so forth. So this is different, right? Here the idea is that God is all around us. And I think we've all had an intuition of this at some point, right? How many of you have had this experience where you're walking, I don't know, in nature and it just feels holy? You know what I mean? Like there's a presence or there's something mysterious all around you. How many of you had moments like this in your life where you feel surrounded, or you're in a party? That can happen too, right? And it's just everyone is in sync, or you're playing in an orchestra or at a concert, right? And you're feeling all around you this amazing embrace, right? This is Brahman, right? So it's different. It's not a personified divine. It's divine which is all around us. And of course, divine is also within us. And the way to tap into it is what we're trying to do. And I'll talk a little more today about yoga and meditation. So let's go to page 51. This is Upanishad, first Upanishad, Introduction to Brahman.
I was looking on my phone because I have a different...
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm on page 51. Okay, so he begins, right? Whoever is writing this, we don't know, begins by saying, right, what I'm talking about is not what people here adore, right? He says this over and over again in the part 1, right? If you go to paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, right? He begins, what cannot be spoken with words, but that whereby words are spoken, know that alone to be Brahman, the spirit, and not what people here adore. What cannot be thought with the mind, but that whereby the mind can think, know that alone to be Brahman, the spirit, and not what people here adore. And he does this 3 more times, right? So there's an emphasis here that what the teaching here is going to be radically different from the traditional religion of the time, and also radically different from our religion, right? This is not religion in a way. Right? Religion has gods and rituals and sacrifices. Here we are talking about a fundamental quality of the universe. This is philosophy, right? We're talking about the structure of the universe, the structure of what it means to be human. The universe has this dimension, and we as human beings have this dimension, whether we are religious or not, right? We all carry this. Okay, so he continues, right? And trying to see what is this Brahman, how do we access it, what does it mean, right? How do we know all this? And so I'm on page 52, right? It's an interesting quote. So from now on, what I want to do actually with this text, because philosophical text, I'm going to actually, and because it's written like an enigma, right? It's written in a way to dissimulate, right? You can't reveal Brahman because Brahman cannot be seen, but you can hint at it, glimpse at it, open windows or doors towards it. So what we're going to do is actually ponder some of these passages together. So I'm going to call on you, right? I'm going to ask you to tell me, what do you think it means, right? Because what this text is really doing, and this is what I realized today when I was preparing it, this text is meant to open something in our minds, right? This text is meant to provoke something, a shift in our imagination, is meant to break something open. And so the text is meant to be pondered, right? So if I just tell you what the text means, we're not going to be doing this pondering, right? You're not going to be doing this pondering because the text here is meant to be read individually. You're meant to read it and ponder what it means. And as you ponder, what is actually going to happen is some regions in your mind are going to open up, right? But it only opens up if we do the pondering, right? So we're going to do this pondering together. So I'm going to read you a couple quotes, and we are going to kind of together try to build the meaning of this. So here's the next one. I'm on page 52. And go to the, from the top, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, so here's the first thing. This is the disciple speaking. I do not imagine I know him well, and yet I cannot say I know him not. Right? Who of us knows this knows him, and not who says I know him not. Okay, so it's kind of a tongue twister riddle, right? Let's try to understand the first part. How is it that you can both know him, right? I don't say that, or you can both not know Brahman, and yet at the same time I cannot say that I don't know Brahman. So what does this mean to you? What is this opening up in your mind? How do you respond to this, that we both know and don't know Brahman? What do you think this means? What is this evoking for you? I'm gonna start calling names. Start thinking, because I'm gonna call on you to encourage you to talk. Let's see, Pak, what do you think it means? I know Brahman, but yet I don't know.
Maybe he's had an experience where he felt like Brahman's presence, maybe.
So he knows, but how does he then not know? Okay, who wants to? So he, right? Yes, we have, like we talked about, sometimes we sense, right, the mystery, the beauty of the universe. But sometimes, how do we? So we know to a certain degree, but how do we then not know? Lenera, go ahead.
For me, objectively, it just sounds like he doesn't know, and then he might not know. But also, it could be that knowing Brahman is different for everybody, in the sense that we all know that Brahman exists, but to each person, Brahman is different.
Okay, I like that. Very nice, right? So I can't say I know for everybody, right? That because knowledge is supposed to be universal. So if I say I know Brahman, I'm speaking for everyone, but it's actually perhaps a very unique individual experience. Very nice. I hadn't thought of that. I like that. You guys can write this down. It's worth writing. Very nice. Okay, what else? What else does it mean that I cannot know? He's actually thinking specifically of a way of knowing that he's saying not like that. What is this way of knowing that most of us use, right? That he's saying, this is not going to get you there. How do we typically know? With what part of our body do we typically know? Exactly, with the mind, right? Especially in the West. We know intellectually. Here he's telling us, if you're trying to access this intellectually, it's not going to work, right? We're going to see that this knowledge is only accessible to the body, and we're going to see how, right? So this is actually a really interesting idea, because this is actually a very big stumbling block for many people who are on the spiritual path, right? They want to understand, they want to be sure, they want arguments, right? They want to know for sure that this path is reliable. Here he's saying, don't drop that, right? Your mind cannot bring you there, right? Your mind cannot take you to the highest levels of spirituality. You have to go with another part of yourself, right? The mind in a way stays on the banks of the river, and you have to cross with a different medium than your mind, right? So, and this is kind of hard for us in the West, because we're used to doing everything with our minds, right? Our mind is the part of us, by the way, which controls everything. We want to be in control. We want to be certain. We want to know where this is going, right? Here he is saying, you can't. When it comes to the spiritual journey, when it comes to connecting to the profound mystery of the universe, you have to set your mind aside and access it differently. You have to use another part of yourself to go deeper, right? And we're going to see what part in a second. Okay, good. Let's go to the next enigma, right? Page 52 still. Let's see. Yes, I'm just continuing, right? He comes to so next line, right after that. He comes to the thought of those who know him beyond thought. Okay, you see where I am? Again, this notion is beyond thought. Not those who imagine he can be attained by thought. Now here's the interesting part. He is unknown to the learned and known to the simple. So what does it mean that this Divine presence, right, is unknown to the learned, but it's accessible to the simple. Only the simple can tap into it. So what does it mean? What does it mean? How can we become simple? Are we, right? Are we there? What does this mean? Yes.
It sounds like he's criticizing people that go out of their way to try to understand Brahman or God, because he knows that they'll fail. When I guess he's claiming that the true way to access Brahman is to not understand it in a sense.
Okay,
to be
nice.
less conscious of trying to understand it.
Very good. I like that, right? There's no effort in what is divine. I'm quoting Simone Weil here. She says something like that, right? There should be no effort. If you're meditating and your effort, it's an effort, it's not the right way. Meditating is a relaxation. Meditating is resting, right? So many of us, when we're meditating, we're like, I can't think, I shouldn't think, and we meditate like with a lot of effort. No, the yoga you were saying, Pak, right? It's an effort. No, none of this, all of this should be effortless, right? You meditate, you're just resting in, you're doing yoga, you're just at your level, right? As soon as you put in effort, you're going to miss it because it comes to the simple. So what does it mean? So we know now what it means to be not simple, but what does it mean to be simple? What is a simple person? How can we become more simple so that we can begin to tap into this dimension? Okay, elaborate a little bit. That's interesting. What do you mean?
Because I'm connecting it to the yoga, how we do not train ourselves. And so you basically go as far as you can until like you feel ready. And going with the idea like feeling ready through movement seems kind of instinctual in a way.
Yes, very good, right? You don't have this agenda, okay, I'm going to be like this person and I'm going to, right? You don't have a goal. It's not like you, I remember I'll give you a story just to illustrate that. When I first moved to New York, I was like, okay, I need to exercise. There's no place to exercise. So I went into one of those fancy gyms, right? What is this, NYS Sport or something. So I go in and I just want to basically, the reason I exercise is to calm myself, right? I go in and the trainer meets me, right? And they're like, okay, so what's your goal? And I'm like, goal? I just want to move so I can feel better. No, but don't you have a goal like for a part of your body that you want to, tighten or, make stronger? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I just want to relax, right? So absolutely, right? Very often we go into everything with a goal. I have to attain this. Here he's saying, don't think of a goal. Just explore, enter, explore, experience, right? You don't know what you're going to encounter. So if you're going in there with the goal, oh, I want to have an ecstatic experience, or I want this to do this, you can't. For the spiritual journey, there should be no goal, no expectation. It's an exploration, it's an opening. It's not a grasping. Remember the Ecclesiastes, we talked about receiving versus grasping, right? Same thing here. It's not a grasping, it's a receiving. So you don't know what's going to happen, when, if, right? You're just opening yourself up to that. So very nice. I like that. It's a kind of, it's instinctive. It's not goal-oriented. It's natural, right? You remain in touch with yourself. You don't try to transcend yourself. I love that. Okay. Anybody else want to add on the simple? Let's see. Azara, do you want to add anything on the simple? I'm just going to torture y'all.
I guess kind of similar to what he said about like people who are not simple, like they study about it all day, all night, and all they do is think about how am I gonna access Brahman with, like, how am I gonna be able to finally access it, and by doing that, they don't enable themselves to actually access it. But people who are simple, they, like, half the time they don't even know about it, and they just let it come to them.
Right,
and
very
that's
good.
what they have to do in order to have this experience.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, you want to add?
Yeah, to add on to their point, it sounded like maybe there's this increase in, I guess, the more of a disconnect between your mind and thinking and then your body with like physical sensations, where you're just looking to experience something, but you're not necessarily looking for a meaning.
Yes, exactly, right? You're just it's like a game that children play, right? It's for fun. It's not you know. So this idea of the child, right, having more access to wisdom than the adult, you'll find also in Chinese philosophy, in the Christian philosophy. This is a very common idea in the ancient world that we have to become like children again, right? Innocent, open, naive, right? Curious, playful, right? If we were to take our practices playfully, right? Oh, let me just enjoy this yoga or enjoy this meditation and be playful and about it, right? Rather than, I gotta make this happen. This is a whole different way of living, right? You have to shift into the child mode to really access these deep truths. Many children actually, before the age of 4, according to some of, I think it's, I forget which philosophy says this, but the child before 4 is enlightened. I think it's Hindu philosophy says this, that before the child turns 4, before the cognition kicks in, they're actually considered to be enlightened. They're on a higher level because they're so open, right? Very nice. Okay, good. So now we go into the how we do access, right? It's not, we know a little bit more, but now he's going to be very explicit in the next line. He is known in the ecstasy of an awakening which opens the door to life eternal. By the self, right, this big self, capital S, this is the Atman, right? By the self, we obtain the true self, right? When we access this true self, we obtain power. Right? And this is actually very, very true, right? Once you tap into your deeper self, right, the part of you which is divine, you enter life completely different. This is why I encourage, my students, I encourage myself, before you even leave the house, meditate, tap into this deeper self so you can go into the world empowered. You can go into the world with this power, this light that you have tapped into, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about the ecstasy of an awakening, right? Ecstasy means to open. Ecstasy is I think it's Greek. It means simply the opening, right? So I want to talk a little bit more just to really bring it home of how to practice the yoga, the meditation, because this is what is going on here. So we never really think as Westerners and New Yorkers, right? What is yoga for in the spiritual level? We do it here as a workout, right? If you go to a yoga studio in New York, first of all, it's very fast. I don't know, who has been to a yoga studio in New York? Okay, it's just, right? I went last time, I almost collapsed, right? It was just, they go very fast through the motions. It's very muscular. It's about sweating. It's a workout, right? We wanted the goal, right? There's a goal, is to work your body out, to look good, to feel good. That's how we do it, right? We haven't yet explored in our culture yoga as a spiritual practice, right? So the way to understand yoga, in my view, yoga in the Sanskrit means union. We know that probably, right? Means to unify. To unify with what? To unify with the divine, right? Whether outside or inside. But yoga is actually a means of unification. In other words, it's a posture by which you can access the divine. So this is very powerful, right? Yoga is not just a stretching, right? Yoga is a posture through which you access the inner divine, right? And this is, and I know, and I know many people say, oh, yoga, I mean, especially if you come from a religious background, these are the arguments I've heard against yoga. Oh, you can't do yoga because it's a union with these, foreign gods, right? With these Hindu gods. And so there's the notion that the cobra that we did is union with the snake god. And so many Christians, for instance, will never do yoga because union with these foreign gods. No, yoga is union with the God within. We are not talking about foreign gods. This is not polytheism. You saw, right? The Upanishads is going beyond religion. It's not Hinduism, right? We need to be very clear that the Upanishad is not Hinduism. Hinduism has thousands of gods, right? Upanishads, one, within, right? So we have to be clear that the God you're opening up to is the God within, is that place within yourself which is divine. If you want a Christian terminology or Jewish terminology, I will help you. We know in the Judeo-Christian tradition, right, that we were created with out of clay and the breath of God, right? You're familiar with this. This breath of God is what you're connecting to when you do yoga, if you want to see it like that, right? We are connecting to the divine breath, to the divine presence within ourselves through these postures. So these postures are really there to open up the regions of Atman in your body. So as you do the stretches, you're actually releasing this joy and this love and this peace. And this is very interesting. I mean, have any of you caught a glimpse of that as you were doing yoga, that you were releasing or accessing within yourself a dimension of peace and joy or pleasure? Is this making any sense? Did you start to catch it a little bit? Anybody, if you raise your hand if you're seeing a little bit what I'm saying. No, not yet. Nobody accessed that. You did a little bit. Okay. What about you, Pac? Nothing? No access?
Definitely was felt more soothed. Like it was like very soothing, I guess.
Soothing, exactly, right? Let's go over the feelings you felt. You felt soothing. Lanera, what did you feel?
Sorry, say that again.
What did you feel as you're doing yoga? What is a feeling that came up as you're stretching gently?
It was like kind of like a pleasurable thing.
Okay, pleasurable thing. What about you?
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Relaxing. Calming. Wait, that feeling. This is the divine in you, right? You're not just manufacturing it, you're tapping into it. And the more you tap into it, the more infused your life will be with that feeling, i.e. with the divine in you. Am I making sense? That's all it is, right? There's nothing mysterious or magical, right? You tapped briefly into a feeling of deep peace, right? This is always there and you can always access it. And the more you tap into it, the more permeated your life will be with this inner peace. So yoga is really very powerful in that sense, that the movements you're doing have been really designed to help you feel that way, i.e. to help you tap into this dimension which is within you, right? So this is the spiritual meaning of yoga. Yoga is opening up to the bliss within, which is often buried, right, in the tension of our bodies or in the toxicity of our bodies and of our minds, right? But all of us carry within ourselves this deep dimension of bliss and peace and tranquility that we can access through yoga. So that's why I tell you, right, when you're doing the yoga, there's no goal apart from feeling good. Because as you start to feel good, your body is opening up and tapping into this dimension. And so meditation, right, is simply resting into this dimension of pleasure that you've tapped into, right? Meditation is simply, once you've done those preparatory exercises and released some of this tranquility and serenity and bliss, then you just rest in it and enjoy it and kind of bathe in it, right? Bask in it. The more you'll do this, and this is very interesting, the more you meditate like this, right, in a pleasurable way, not forcing yourself, just enjoying, the more you will notice, and this happened to me after a couple years of meditation. I remember, I don't know, how many of you get these negative thoughts sometimes just come in your mind and you start to and you can't control it and you're like, where is this coming from? Anybody get this kind of wind of noise? Wind from hell, right? Okay, so I get that too, right? And after a couple of years of meditation, for the first time in my life, I was able to disconnect from these thoughts. These thoughts would come and I would invite them in and be like, here, of course you are me, I need to listen to you. I used to think these thoughts were me, these negative thoughts. I used to think that they should be taken seriously. I used to think I had to listen to them. When I had meditated enough, I realized there is a distinction between me, this joyful, serene self that I have been connecting to, and this is not me. All of a sudden I could sense the difference, right, between me and them. And at that point, it became much easier to push them away, right? So as you meditate and you connect to your true self, when your false self arrives, right, which is these negative thoughts about yourself, about other people, you quickly see the difference. Like, this is not me. And you're able to, if you don't meditate, they are you, right? You don't have anything else. You're just a vacuum, right? You're a void, and they just come in and settle, right? And you think that's me. I should have these negative thoughts. Yes, I am a loser. I am nothing. And yes, this person is a jerk. And yes, and you start to, that's all there is in you. But when you meditate and you tap into this deeper self of serenity and tranquility, you are able to see, oh my goodness, this is way not me. I'm a new self, right? I have tapped into a new part of myself, which is my true self. I am able now to distinguish. So one of the benefits of meditation is actually will help you very much clean your mind up and resist some of these influences. This is the worst thing, I think, in our lives, not only for ourselves, right, to have these negative thoughts about ourselves, but often we have so many negative thoughts about others, especially when you're like in a very close relationship, whether it's your family, your siblings, or your romantic partner. Many times we poison our relationships because of these thoughts. We start to believe these thoughts. Oh, yeah, he's probably cheating on me right now. Yeah, let me go check his phone. Right? Oh, yeah, she's probably right. Um, and we don't realize, right, that these thoughts are not us. So meditation actually can help you really enter life from a completely different vantage point, right? You don't have to enter it from the vantage point of negativity. You enter it from the vantage point of serenity. Okay, so that's the ecstasy, right, that we're trying to tap into or do. Okay, back to the text. Where's my pages? Yes. Okay. So there's at the end there's a story, right? I don't know if you noticed, about a bunch of gods who, right? Brahman is appearing to four gods, right? These are the four elements: fire, air, thunder. Actually, only three, right? Fire, air, and thunder, right? That's it, right? Was there another? Was there water? Somebody help me. Go to page 52. Okay, that was wisdom. Oh, snow. Yes, very nice. Okay, so you have these three gods, right, who are trying to compete with Brahman, right, and they fail. And this is, of course, an allusion to the gods that were worshipped, the gods of religion, right? And in a way, in the end, right, Brahman manifests itself as a woman. Anybody wonder about that? What does it mean that in the sky there was a lady of radiant beauty? Why would Brahman manifest, reveal itself as a woman? So that's my question to you. How can we think about this? What is the meaning of that? Why does it choose that incarnation to appear? Let's try to ponder this a little bit. There's a lot of meaning there. Yes, Leonard.
Maybe the association with childbirth.
Oh, explain. What do you mean?
Well, if Brahman is in everybody, then I guess women can reproduce, both men and women. So therefore, it's kind of like I guess, a female, the reincarnation of Brahman would imply that it's in everybody. Brahman is also with everybody.
Just like everyone, I'm trying to follow exactly, I kind of sense where you're going. So just like the woman, but she's containing, right, everybody. But this is the reverse. We are containing, Brahman is not containing us, or is it?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, I feel
Could
like
be.
kind of like it's the idea of like, I don't know, just Gaia, like kind of like the Greek god Gaia, I guess, Gaia. She's like the god of earth and life, I suppose. So it's kind of like that's cool. That kind of.
Okay, so you're seeing. So, and why is Gaia a woman? Let's start there.
I don't remember what the.
You're on the right track, actually.
But I feel like it's just kind of like being being someone who gives birth to both men and women.
Yes.
Or you can be universal.
I think that you're absolutely right. Just like Gaia is a woman, why? Because she gives life, right? Gaia is the source of life. Brahman also, we saw earlier, right, is the source of all thoughts, of all life, of everything, right? So in a way, the woman, because in a way she's the source of all of humanity, right? That's why a woman was picked here to illustrate. Very nice. I hadn't seen that at all. I like that. Anybody else? Let's try some different views. Nasiri, help us. Why a woman?
Yeah, my thought process wasn't as profound as that. I just thought it was because, honestly, before you mentioned it, I didn't think the woman was wrong in that. I just thought she was like telling them what wrong was.
Oh, okay.
But I thought
You're right. You're right. It doesn't say specifically, just says in the same region of the sky, right? See, you let a negative thought interfere with the light within, right? Absolutely. So you're right. It's in the same region, so it's not necessarily Brahman. So continue. You're right. You're on the right path too.
continue how.
Well, what does it mean that a woman is here in the same place where Brahman used to be? What is the meaning of that, do you think?
Well, when you mentioned that she was wrong, I thought it was maybe because the three men that appeared before her were like too concerned with like their own sense of power, like one was air, one was thunder, one was fire, and they were competing to see which one of them, knows best or like has the most power, something like that. So I thought that in order to separate like their ideals from her ideals, and she was wisdom and they were
Nice. Okay. See, you guys are giving me so many in the ideas. I should be writing this down, right? So the three gods is kind of like a bro, right? The bros trying to compete, right? It's very masculine, right? We're competing here to see who's gonna access this, who's like athletes, right? And now you have a contrast, right, between these three men and this kind of masculine approach, or maybe more active approach, maybe more intellectual approach, to now this woman of radiant beauty, right, which represents wisdom. So again, telling us maybe, right, wisdom is feminine, and maybe we have to develop a more feminine approach to life, right, i.e. more receptive approach, right, which is what meditation is, right? Meditation is receiving. So wisdom, by the way, is not only feminine here. In all traditions of the ancient world, wisdom is always depicted as a woman. Why? Because the woman is receptive, right? And so wisdom is the ability to receive from outside of yourself. Wisdom is the ability to stop and not be in control and not be in charge and not know. And at that moment, when you release this attitude of I'm in charge, I'm in control, I know, and you receive, this is when you can really grow, right? And we've learned this with Ecclesiastes, right? When Ecclesiastes stopped trying to control and shifted to a receptive stance, this is when he started to tap into the beauty and the glory of life, right? So very nice. Yes, this is shifting, right? We should not approach Brahman in this kind of ego-driven, competitive way. We should approach in a more feminine, receptive, which is the yoga and the meditation that we're doing, right? Nice, I like that. Oh, I should just call on everyone so I can get so many ideas. God, I forget everybody's name. Ojuma, any thoughts on the woman?
I was actually thinking more of a simple, like simplistic idea, like women's intuition, connecting back, because I felt like if they were trying to showcase like their strength and power, they were not focused on actually achieving like wisdom. They were focused on just gaining power. But as the woman was able to like showcase, I guess an aspect of Brahma, it wasn't like she was trying to belittle them. It was more like she was just trying to show them the right path.
Yes.
Which was the exact opposite of what they were trying to do.
Very good, right? She's really like, I think Nasir was saying, she's completely different approach, different dimension, right? Absolutely. Very nice. Okay, I love what you guys are saying. So anyway, so he continues. There's the allusion here to mountains, of course, and we know in the East, I think also, if you go to China or Korea, you have always behind the emperor a painting of a mountain. Anybody? So what would the mountain? Why do the emperors, right, of the ancient Far East always depict themselves on the backdrop of a mountain, with a mountain as a backdrop, rather? What's so interesting about the mountain? Yes.
I don't know if this is right, but maybe if you're on top of the mountain, you're closer to God in a way.
Okay, so you have the elevation, of course, right? The mountain signifies elevation. It's not where we are. It's kind of, it's a challenge to get up, right? In fact, you have, I think, I don't know if it's in Japan or in Korea, but you have, somebody help me, maybe you can help me. Where is it, those temples where you climb the steps and you get, it's in nature. Is that in Japan? You're not sure. I think it's in Japan from last, huh? Yeah, so you always have to climb up, right, to get to the abode of the gods. I think also in Korea they have places where you have to go up the mountain and then you have a sacred temple, right? So the idea is we have to actually move right away from there's an amount, well, I don't want to say effort since we said this was effortless, right? But there is something there's a shift that needs to occur.
I know in North Korea, the Kim family claims that they were all born on top of like the mountains in their region, as if like, because that's supposed to associate themselves with being basically, it's usually association with God, but basically they're saying that they are God.
Right, absolutely, right? If you're born on a mountain, you're pretty much God, right? Absolutely. So you have very much this idea in the Eastern cultures of the mountain representing the abode of the gods. And when there's snow, it's the highest mountain, right? It's very high. So this is the idea here. Okay, so then we continue, right? We have glimpses of Brahman 53, last three lines, right? He's seen in nature, he's seen in the soul, but only in a flash, right? And then finally, you have the final thing, This is the last line of 53. His name is Tadvanam, which translated means the end of love longing. So let's stop on that a little bit. What does it mean that Brahman is the end of love longing? What is he saying here? He or she, we don't know who wrote this, right? What is the text saying? That Brahman actually is the end, right? It's not a person, it's not a thing. It's the end of love longing, of the longing for love. Brahman is the end of that. What would it mean? How can we interpret that? Pak, help us. You guys have to keep thinking. I know we're not supposed to access it by thinking, but we're going to do a little bit of that. Pak, what does it mean that Brahman is the end of love longing?
Once you achieve Brahman, you won't really be looking for love.
Okay, you're right. Does anybody want to elaborate? Right, you said once you reach Brahman, you no more looking for love. What does this mean? This is so powerful. Most of us we live in the world looking for love. This is the main quest. What does it mean that Brahman is the end of love longing? This is a powerful idea. Let's see. Azarad.
Maybe once you finally reach Brahman, not only do you feel love for him, but then or her, but then they also finding love somewhere else with another person, maybe like.
Right. I think you guys are you want to add, or do you mind? Your face looks like it wants to add something.
I was thinking that since this is like trying not to receive the goal, it's kind of similar to the book of Ecclesiastes, how by not receiving, by like trying not to receive love and gain love.
Yes, I love it. You're not right. Love longing is grasping. I need, I need, I need. Brahman is the end of this need, right? In other words, you shift from grasping, needing, having to make happen to a different stance, which very nice. I like the connection with Ecclesiastes, where you're just receptive, right? You're not trying to get somewhere. You're just receiving what there is to receive. Another way to understand this, of course, is also perhaps in a more Christian way. As you connect to the divine within, you have complete fulfillment, right? You don't need anymore. I think this is a very powerful idea in Hinduism, right? Sorry, this is not Hinduism. In the Upanishads, right? That when you tap into the divine within, you reach a place of completeness, right? You don't need anymore to get it from other people. This is why when I teach the love class that I sometimes teach, there's a whole section where we talk about, let's not depend on our lovers to feed us. Let us find the inner source. I think Kierkegaard says this, right? There is an inner source which we should tap into when we are in a partnership, so we don't depend so much on the outside to feed us, right? What we're learning here is that once you tap into this divine in yourself, you will reach a completeness where you don't need to get it from the outside anymore. And that, I think, is one of the most powerful ideas, right, in that text. Okay, beautiful, nice work. I think we'll continue like this to explore together. Also, the other text, right? This is more of a wisdom class, right? So it's not so much a lecture. We are also digging together, right? So I actually like that approach because I had prepared something, but you guys added so much that I'm like, I'm not switching anymore. We're doing this. Good. Next time you will read the next part. This is Atman. We'll talk more about Atman. We'll do the yoga and the meditation again. Let's review. What's the sequence of the yoga? Number 1. Prayer. By the way, when you do this one, what I like to do is intention, right? I want to be peaceful, right? Kind of like a prayer or an intention. Then what's the next one? Quickly. After the prayer, cobra. Then what's the next animal? Cat. After the cat,
Snake.
the twist.
Oh.
Twist, not an animal. After the twist, we start to do what? We come out of the twist, and exactly, we start the stretching, both feet. And after we do that, what do we do? The bridge, right? You lie on your back, you lift up your pelvis, right? And then I've skipped that one when we reviewed the corpse. We lie down. And then you bring the knees together and then up, and then it's the end. Okay, so review also your breathing. We're going to do one last yoga session next time in the grass, and we'll finish the text, and then we'll be good with the Upanishads. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to stop the recording.